Martin Emsworth, one of Britain's best-known and most controversial painters, was 67 when he died last September. For many years, he'd lived in picturesque Pond Cottage in the village of Kettleworth, near Fulchester. The inhabitants looked on him as a wayward genius of markedly eccentric habits. He shared the cottage with two women, his manager, Brenda Kingsley, who arranged the sale of his pictures to the leading art galleries throughout the world, and Rose Messiter, a village girl who became Emsworth's favourite model. During the last months of his life, the painter made two wills. The first in August, leaving everything to Brenda, and the second in September, leaving everything to Rose. Today, in the Crown Court, Brenda is bringing a civil action against Rose, seeking to get the second will put aside. Her counsel is Miss Helen Tate.
On the 12th of August, Martin Emsworth made a will in which he bequeathed his entire estate to the plaintiff, Miss Kingsley. The will having been duly executed, Miss Kingsley deposited the will in Mr. Emsworth's bank. In doing this, she was acting in her capacity as Mr. Emsworth's business manager. Mr. Emsworth died on September the 13th, the age of 67. A week later, another will was discovered on the back of a Martin Emsworth drawing in the Tate Gallery. This will was dated September the 1st, and it bequeathed Mr. Emsworth's entire estate to his favourite model, Miss Rose Messiter. But you will hear that this second will was not in Mr. Emsworth's usual handwriting, and moreover that on September the 1st, Emsworth was incapable of understanding what he was signing, as his mental capacity was such that he was unable to tell what he was doing. My first witness is the plaintiff, Miss Brenda Kingsley.
What is your religion?
Church of England.
Take the book in your right hand and read aloud the words on the card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Is your name Brenda Helen Kingsley?
Yes, it is.
And do you live at 12 Queen Anne's Terrace in the city of Westminster?
Yes.
Would you describe your occupation to the court?
Well, at present I'm employed as a consultant on modern English painting at the Apollo Gallery in Bond Street, London. Before that, I was personal manager to the painter Martin Emsworth.
Perhaps you would tell us something about his painting.
Well, his early work was very much influenced by the Euston Road group, but after that he developed his own individual style. I think one could say that his work was realistic in treatment, but not in subject matter.
Could you give us an example?
Yes. His best-known work is probably Christ and the Money Changers, which hangs in the Portland Gallery in Washington. It shows the figure of Christ attacking members of the stock exchange.
In modern dress?
Oh, yes. Emsworth always painted his figures wearing modern clothes. That's if they were wearing any clothes at all.
Were the subjects usually religious?
Religious or allegorical, yes.
And what, roughly speaking, would you say was the value of an Emsworth painting?
Well, it varies, of course, but I would say that the highest price paid would be for The Rape of the Sabine Women. That was sold to a private collector for £6,000.
Has the value of the pictures appreciated since Mr. Emsworth's death?
Oh, almost certainly, but it's hard to tell because none of the pictures have been put on the market recently. And I suppose they won't be until this case has been settled.
And there are a number of paintings included in the estate?
About a dozen, yes.
Where did you live when you were acting as manager to Mr. Emsworth?
In his cottage.
And who else lived there?
Rose Messiter. She acted as a sort of housekeeper as well as modelling for him.
And the three of you lived quite amicably together?
Quite reasonably, yes.
How long had this arrangement been going on?
Well, I went to live in the cottage in 1963. Rose, I think, about 2 years later.
So the fortunate Mr. Emsworth had two ladies looking after him. Would you describe him as an easy man to live with?
No. I would describe him as quite impossible.
Because of his artistic temperament?
No. Because of his filthy habits and general unpredictability.
His filthy habits, Miss Kingsley?
Well, he had no idea of personal hygiene. He used to wear the same old clothes until they dropped off him.
Would you describe him as a moral person?
No. Frankly, no woman under the age of 85 was safe with him.
In such a small village, that must have caused some comment?
Yes.
Of a censorious nature?
No. I think they absolutely loved it. He was a celebrity, you see. Oh, it's a rather boring village, and Emsworth was a sort of outrageous local monument, apart from which he was always lending money.
To deserving cases?
No, quite the opposite, to anybody who asked him.
As his personal manager, what was your attitude to this indiscriminate benevolence?
Well, I tried to stop it. I didn't see why he should give handouts to half the scroungers in the county. But all I could do was just to try and keep things straight. I used to pay his gas bills, and then when there was no money left to pay any of the bills, I used to have to arrange for another picture to be sold.
But presumably there was no difficulty in this, with Mr. Emsworth's paintings fetching such high prices.
Oh, well, he never wanted to sell them. He would rather have destroyed them. As a matter of fact, he quite often did.
Destroy his own creation?
Yes, drawings especially. I should say he tore up about 90% of them. I used to have to try to rescue them when he wasn't looking. A good Emsworth drawing would fetch several £100s. After a bit he found out and started to do his preliminary sketches on things that I couldn't sell.
What exactly do you mean, Miss Kingsley?
Well, the bathroom wall on one occasion, rolls of kitchen paper, tea cloths, anything that came to hand.
But in spite of this eccentricity, what would you say was his standing as an artist?
One of the very greatest. That's the only reason why I put up with all of this.
Did you receive any salary for acting as manager to Mr. Emsworth?
No, I used to take a commission of 5%.
And for this small commission you acted as financial advisor, in effect?
Yes.
Did you ever speak to him about making a will?
Oh, yes, often, but he always managed to put it off. Eventually we had quite a stand-up fight about it. I said that I thought he was being selfish and pig-headed, and that if he died, I didn't fancy having to clear up the mess. I think I actually threatened to walk out. And then he started crying and said that he couldn't get on without me, which is true.
Do you remember on what day this conversation took place?
Yes. It was on August the 12th.
And did he then make a will?
Yes. He sat down quite calmly and wrote it out.
Did he show it to you?
Yes, before he signed it.
My lord, since the contents of this will are not disputed, I think I may save the time of the court by stating that it bequeathed all Mr. Emsworth's personal effects and the rest of his estate to Miss Kingsley.
Thank you, Miss Tate.
I'm obliged, Your Lordship. What were your feelings when you discovered that Mr. Emsworth had left everything to you?
I was surprised and touched.
And what happened after he'd shown the will to you?
He was going to sign it, but I told him that his signature would need a witness. He asked why didn't I do that, and I said, well, being a beneficiary, I couldn't be a witness as well. So he sent for Rose.
And who was the second witness?
Heather Wynne, she's the local vet. She happened to be in the cottage at the time because the goat was sick.
The goat?
Oh, well, there were always a great many animals round the cottage. At least 15 cats, an owl with a broken wing, the goat...
Oh, I see. The goat was sick.
Yes. It had swallowed a tube of paint.
Were the contents of the will disclosed to either of these two ladies?
No. Emsworth folded it so that they couldn't see. All that happened was that he signed it, and then they signed underneath. Afterwards, we all had a drink to celebrate.
And what happened to the will?
Well, I took it to the bank next day and asked the manager to place it amongst Emsworth's other private documents. Oh, title deeds to the cottages, things like that. I thought that if it was left lying about, it might get lost or damaged somehow.
Even eaten by the goat. Do you remember September the 1st, Miss Kingsley?
Yes. Yes, that was the day I went up to London. I was trying to get one of the big galleries to arrange an Emsworth retrospective. We were going through one of our difficult periods. He refused to work.
What was his general condition at this time?
Well, he was going very much downhill. He was drinking rather more than usual and seemed very depressed. He said he didn't think that he would ever be able to paint again. It was a very worrying period. We had a great many bills to pay. And as usual, Emsworth refused to let me sell anything. And I thought that, if a big exhibition could be arranged in London, it might cheer him up and start him working again.
How long were you away on this occasion?
I stayed the night in London, and then I returned the next day. Emsworth had taken to his bed. The place was even untidier than usual, but at least I could see signs that he'd been trying to work. The place was just full of torn-up drawings. As far as I could tell, they were all variations on the same subject, a sort of bacchanalian procession, with a naked man riding on a goat and a naked girl dancing along behind them.
Did you say anything about these drawings to Mr. Emsworth?
No. There was no use talking to him. He was just lying there making groaning noises. I thought, well, as usual, I'd have to make a firm decision, so I picked out the best of the drawing and thought, good, that'll pay the gas bill and the rates. And then I took a piece of stiff cardboard, laid the drawing on it, and then on top of that I laid a mount.
A mount. Now, that is, of course, the surround.
Oh, yes, my lord. It's the edging, the thin card that sets a picture off. Oh, and then I covered it all with transparent wrapping to protect it.
And what did you do with it after that?
I took it up to the Tate Gallery and sold it for £300.
Without telling Mr. Emsworth?
Oh, well, he'd have made such a fuss, and we had to pay the bills.
Did Mr. Emsworth at any time say anything to you to indicate that he had, or intended to, revoke the first will?
No, nothing. But then he really was in very bad shape. He was virtually incoherent from then on until the 13th of September when he died. Nothing he said made any sense.
So he was virtually incoherent from the 2nd of September until his death on the 13th?
Yes, that's right.
So at the time he died, you believed yourself to be Mr. Emsworth's only beneficiary?
Yes, the lawyer confirmed it too. He said it would take a little time to settle everything, but that it all seemed quite in order.
And when did the second will come to light?
Oh, that was about a week after Emsworth died. The Tate Gallery rang me up and said that when they were reframing the drawing, they'd found something on the back of it that they hadn't noticed before. So I went up to London, and they showed me that the back of the drawing was covered with writing that I hadn't noticed when I'd been mounting it. It looked like a will dated the 1st of September.
Will you look at the photocopy, Exhibit 1, my lord? Is it a copy of the so-called will which you saw in the Tate Gallery?
Yes, it is.
Miss Tate, are we to see this document?
Yes, my lord. It is in the agreed bundle at page 2.
Yes, I'm aware of that, but that's a mere photocopy. We not have an opportunity to study the original?
My lord, the trustees of the Tate Gallery were somewhat unwilling to part with such a valuable property. My learned friend, Mr. Elliot, made no objection to the production of a photocopy.
Well, I'm sure the jury would like to see it. For all they know, this writing may show through the picture.
My lord, if it did, I'm sure my learned friend would have insisted on the production of the original.
I wish to see the picture. You will no doubt take steps to see that the Tate Gallery complies with my request.
As your lordship pleases. May I continue with my examination of this witness?
Please do, Miss Tate.
Is the signature on the so-called will Mr. Emsworth's?
Yes, it is. But the rest of the will is in a very poor copy of his handwriting.
Thank you, Miss Kingsley.
Were you upset when you found that Mr. Emsworth had made a second will by which you were excluded from any share in his estate?
Not in the least.
Why was that, Miss Kingsley?
Because I didn't think the will was genuine. The signature was all right, but as I've said before, the rest of the will was in a very bad copy of Emsworth's handwriting.
Not just in someone else's handwriting.
No, definitely a copy. Not good enough to deceive me, because of course I know Emsworth's handwriting very well.
Who would have done such a thing?
I think it's a question of applying the old principle of cui bono.
A Latin scholar as well as an art expert? Oh, Miss Kingsley, for those members of the court who did not receive a classical education, perhaps you would explain.
Certainly. It means that when an offence has been committed and you don't know by whom, you start by considering who has got the most advantage out of it.
Most elegantly put. And who does that lead you to?
Quite clearly. Rose.
Kingsley, according to your account of Martin Emsworth, he was mean, dirty, and sexually promiscuous. It's not a very attractive picture, is it?
No, I suppose not, but it happens to be the truth. At least it's half the truth. He was also extremely generous to people he didn't know, and, far more important than that, he happened to be a genius.
And that made up for all his other failings?
Oh, not entirely, no, as I've already explained. He was almost impossible to live with.
So he was almost impossible to live with, as well as being mean, dirty, and sexually promiscuous. And yet you lived with him for 9 years.
Yes.
Why did you put up with this squalor, this meanness for so long?
Because I was very fond of him in a way, and I thought he needed looking after.
Was it not because you knew that when he died he'd be worth a lot of money?
Oh, there certainly wasn't any money.
When he died, he had in his possession about a dozen pictures worth, you say, perhaps £6,000 apiece.
That never crossed my mind, as I've already told you. I did my best to try to get him to sell them while he was still alive. He could have bought an annuity and lived very comfortably.
You say you advised him to sell his pictures?
Yes.
Why didn't he? He obviously respected your flair for financial matters. Why didn't he sell the pictures, if indeed that was the advice you gave him?
Because some of the pictures contained portraits of people that he was fond of. He painted from life, you see. Half the people in the village can be recognised in his pictures if you knew them. The vicar, for example, once figured as Beelzebub.
Did he? So you're saying that he refused to part with any of his paintings for sentimental reasons?
Yes. Oh, well, that didn't apply to all of them. There were some that he would have let me sell, but it was almost impossible to find a market for them.
And why was that, Miss Kingsley? Surely an Emsworth was a very saleable commodity.
Oh, it's just that he enjoyed shocking people. He used to put in obscene details. The Americans in particular weren't at all amused.
Well, apart from that, he made a great deal of money from the sale of his paintings during the 9 years you managed his affairs, did you not?
Oh, yes, a great deal, but then he squandered it. As soon as he'd got money in his pocket, he'd go straight down to the village inn and buy drinks all round for everybody until closing time. He once gave a man £1,000 to buy a non-existent greyhound. He hated money, always wanted to get rid of it.
So he was always broke?
Completely.
Forgive me for saying so, Miss Kingsley, but that doesn't say much, does it, for your managing of his affairs?
Well, short of locking him up, I don't see what else I could have done.
Do you think he needed locking up?
Well, I wouldn't say he was insane, but towards the end of his life, he was certainly peculiar.
Was he peculiar on August the 12th, for example?
No, he was all right then.
You appear to have been very anxious to get him to make out a will.
Yes, I was. Some of his pictures were very good. And I didn't like the idea of them going to some distant relative he'd probably never even seen. I thought they should be properly disposed of.
Left to you, you mean?
No, not especially. Oh, there are plenty of provincial art galleries, for example, that would be delighted to have an Emsworth.
Nevertheless, he did make you his sole legatee.
Yes.
Now, you folded the will over so that Miss Messiter and Miss Wynne could not see what it was they were signing.
They knew that they were witnessing his signature. They could see that.
Is Miss Messiter a highly educated person?
Oh, well, she's only a village girl. She's had hardly any education. But that doesn't mean that she couldn't forge a will.
The other witness, the Lady Vet, was she a particular friend of yours?
We were good friends, yes.
At the beginning of September, did Miss Wynne say anything to you about Emsworth having changed his will?
No.
Well, if we look at the second will, or rather the facsimile, which is all we have at present, we see that the first witness assigned her name quite clearly, Heather Wynne.
Yes.
And yet, you tell us that this good friend of yours never mentioned that she'd been asked to perform this office a second time?
Perhaps she didn't realise it was a will.
Perhaps. On August the 27th, is it right that you had a row with Mr. Emsworth?
Oh, I don't know particularly. I don't remember.
Something that could be fairly described as a shouting match, Miss Kingsley.
Oh, we were always having one of those. I don't remember that one in
the
particular.
course of this row, you said, you better sell your paintings while they're still in fashion.
I don't think I ever said that to him.
You don't think. Very well, let's come to the 2nd of September when you returned from London. Now, you say you found this drawing. And where did you find it?
Well, just lying about with lots of other drawings.
No
Some not completed, others torn up.
And no doubt you realise this was a preliminary sketch for an important picture.
No, why should I think that? It was amongst a lot of others. Just drawings that he'd dashed off.
So you'll be surprised to hear that Emsworth intended to use this drawing as the basis for a large oil painting entitled The Triumph of Bacchus.
Yes, very. It looked to me like a quick but brilliant sketch of Rose dancing about with a tambourine and the plumber sitting on a goat.
The acoustics of this court can be very deceptive. I thought you said the plumber was sitting on the goat.
Yes, my lord. Wally Collie.
Is that the goat's name?
No, my lord. The plumber's.
I shall be calling Mr. Walter Colley as a witness, my lord.
Unmounted, I trust.
Oh, yes, my lord.
Please continue.
Thank you, my lord. Miss Kingsley, his paintings were based on such sketches, were they not?
Yes, but that one is not like his usual preliminary sketch.
If you had realised this was a preliminary sketch for an important picture, you wouldn't have removed it and sold it to the Tate Gallery, would you?
Not until after the picture was finished, no.
The picture was never even begun, was it, Miss Kingsley?
No.
And that was because this sketch on which it was to have been based had disappeared.
No, it was because, in my opinion, Emsworth at that stage was quite incapable of getting on with it.
Well, I suggest that you knew this was a preliminary sketch for something important, but that you nevertheless removed it. Now, are we to believe that you didn't notice this writing on the back? I mean, didn't you turn the picture over at any time?
Well, I may have done, but I didn't particularly notice. Emsworth was in the habit of scribbling on any bits of paper that came to hand if he was suddenly struck by an idea. He made a lot of notes before starting on an important picture.
So you did recognize that he was embarking on something of importance?
His head was always full of ideas for pictures. They often got no further.
Neatly evaded, Miss Kingsley. Now, will you please tell the court exactly how you mounted this picture, step by step, if you wouldn't mind?
I found a piece of stiff cardboard, slightly larger than the drawing, and stuck the two together.
Stuck the two together how?
Oh, with a few drops of rubber solution, just to hold them together, nothing permanent.
And this adhesive was placed on the back of the drawing?
No, on the cardboard. Then the drawing was placed on top of that, and then I covered it with a mount. And then I covered the whole thing with transparent paper.
And you say that in the course of this complicated process, you didn't see that the writing on the back was in fact a will?
If I had known what it was, do you really think that I would have taken it and sold it to the Tate?
You might have done, Miss Kingsley, if you wanted to conceal it.
Why should I do that?
A few minutes ago, you used a certain Latin phrase. What was it again, Miss Kingsley?
Cui bono?
Meaning that the finger of suspicion points at whoever has gained the most advantage. Now, if this second will had disappeared and never come to light, you would have gained a substantial advantage, would you not, Miss Kingsley? You'd have inherited everything, wouldn't you?
I still think that that is what Emsworth wanted.
Well, unhappily, we can't call Mr. Emsworth to find out. A deceased person can only speak to us through his will, the last will he made before his death.
I don't believe that second will was genuine. I am sure it was a forgery. I am sure that Rose wrote it out and got him to sign it by pretending that it was something else.
What other documents can you think of that require the signature of one person to be witnessed by that of two others?
I don't know. I wasn't there, but I do know the state of mind that Emsworth would have been in. Excited by some new idea to the point of madness, covering sheets and sheets of paper with rough sketches, tearing most of them up and not paying any attention to anything but the work he was trying to do. Now, he would hardly have broken off in the middle of that to make a will.
Yes, I can see he may have been in a frenzy of creation, but that is not the same as being mad, is it, Miss Kingsley?
Now, Mr. Elliot, the plaintiff has not stated in her evidence that the late Mr. Emsworth was mad. In any case, the question before the court is whether on this particular day, when Miss Kingsley was in London, he comprehended what he was doing.
I'm obliged to your lordship. Let us return to the other question before the court. This allegation of yours that the will was forged. Now, you knew Mr. Emsworth's handwriting very well.
Yes. I'm sure he didn't write it.
Are you familiar with the handwriting of Miss Messiter?
Well, I don't think we've ever corresponded as far as I remember, but I've seen it, of course.
You don't like Miss Messiter much, do you?
We used to get on all right.
When you both lived at the cottage. That must have been a very difficult situation.
Yes, it was sometimes. But you see, I knew how important she was to Emsworth. She was his favourite model. He used to say that she inspired him. Oh, not intellectually, of course. It was just that he was so enormously excited by her shape.
I see. It didn't make you feel jealous at all, did it?
Jealous? Of course not. Almost every artist has some recurring obsession, some object that inspires him. With Cézanne, it was apples. With Emsworth, it happened to be Rose.
The case of Kingsley versus Messiter will be resumed tomorrow in the Crown Court. The case of Kingsley versus Messiter continues in the Crown Court. It centres on two wills said to have been made by the eccentric, world-famous painter Martin Emsworth. There were two women in his life, his business manager, Brenda Kingsley, the plaintiff in this action, who gave evidence earlier, and his favourite model, Rose Messiter, who was the defendant in the case. Each claims that she is entitled to inherit the whole of Emsworth's estate. Brenda has described how Emsworth made a will in her favour a month before his death. She was astonished when a second will turned up, written on the back of an Emsworth drawing in the Tate Gallery, which left everything to Rose. She accused Rose of forging it and getting Emsworth to sign it at a time when he didn't know what he was doing. As we return to court, Mr. Elliot, counsel for the defendant, is cross-examining a graphologist who's been called in to give evidence for the plaintiff.
Mr. Pascoe, you've examined the writing on the two wills and you've given it as your expert opinion that there are marked similarities between them.
That is so, yes.
And you could not say that they were written by different people.
I couldn't possibly say that, no. While there are many similarities, there are also dissimilarities. For example, in the second will, the writing is, generally speaking, more rounded, more flamboyant.
Might the circumstances in which the will was written explain this?
I'm sorry, I don't quite follow.
If Mr. Emsworth was drunk, for example, or in a state of high excitement, would that produce a change in the appearance of his handwriting?
Yes, yes, of course. But the fundamental style of the writing would remain unchanged.
Now, you have seen examples of the defendant's handwriting, haven't you, Mr. Pascoe?
Only those provided by the defense.
What do you mean to imply by that?
Well, the plaintiff's solicitors were apparently unable to produce any, so of course I must rely on those provided by the defense.
The defense did not manifest any reluctance in providing the example of Miss Messiter's handwriting, did they?
Oh, no. But it's not quite the same as having independent samples, is it?
Why not, Mr. Pascoe? You're not insinuating, are you, that my client deliberately disguised her handwriting in the examples that we made available?
No, no, of course not.
Good. So you cannot say definitely that the second will was not written by the late Martin Emsworth?
I couldn't say so definitely, no.
And you cannot say that the second will was written by the defendant, Miss Rose Messiter?
No, on the evidence before me, I couldn't possibly say that.
Thank you, Mr. Pascoe, that's all.
Do you wish to re-examine, Miss Tate?
No, my lord.
You may stand down, Mr. Pascoe.
It will please your lordship, the original drawing mentioned in court has now been made available.
Ah, well, I'm sure we're all very anxious to see it, Miss Tate.
My lord, the trustees of the Tate Gallery have expressed a hope that it will be returned to them as soon as possible.
When we have finished with it, Miss Tate, I'm sure the jury would like to see it.
May it please your lordship, my next witness is Miss Heather Wynne.
What is your religion?
Church of England.
You take the book in your right hand and read the words aloud on the card, please.
Yes. I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
Is your name Heather Wynne?
Yes.
And you live at the Kennels, Shoehanger Lane, Kettleworth?
I do, yes.
What is your occupation?
I'm a qualified veterinary surgeon. Oh, and my sister and I look after dogs while their owners are abroad.
You knew the deceased, Martin Emsworth?
Oh, terribly well, yes. I suppose I saw him about once a week.
Were these professional visits or social ones?
Well, both, really. It was hard to tell which was which. I mean, I'd go there because the cat was having kittens, and we'd end up having a party. He was like that.
Could you tell us something more about him, his general character?
Oh, he was a wonderful old scallywag. He was very bohemian, but of course one didn't mind because he was so well known.
Quite a celebrity in the village.
Oh, well, we all loved him, really.
Do you remember what happened on August the 12th?
Yes, Brenda Kingsley phoned me up and said the goat was poorly and would I go and give it something.
At what time did you set off on this errand of mercy?
Well, it was about 7 o'clock in the evening. Brenda was there and Mr. Emsworth, and Rose Messiter was in the kitchen cooking dinner.
And after you'd attended to the goat, were you asked to do anything else?
Yes, Brenda took me on one side and she asked me if I'd witnessed Mr. Emsworth's will, and I said, of course, I'd be delighted.
Did you see the contents of the will?
No, I didn't think it was any of my business. Oh, and anyway, it was folded, so I couldn't. No, I just watched while Mr. Emsworth signed his name, and then I wrote mine underneath, and Rose did the same.
I thought you said Rose was in the kitchen.
Oh, well, she was, but they asked her to come out.
And what happened then?
Well, we all had a drink to celebrate, and I must have stayed there till about, 10 o'clock. I know my sister wasn't very pleased when I got home because I was a bit tiddly, and she was expecting me for supper.
Was Mr. Emsworth tiddly?
Yes, a bit.
But otherwise quite normal, his usual self, in fact.
Oh, yes, he was quite his usual self. Well, he was a bit peculiar, but then he always was.
Did he appear to you to know what he was doing?
About the will, you mean? Oh, yes, yes. Mm.
Do you remember another visit you made to Mr. Emsworth's cottage?
Yes, it was the night one of the cats had kittens. I knew they were about due, and I happened to be passing, so I thought I'd drop by and see if they were all right. And the front door was open, so I just went straight in.
And what did you see?
Well, it was all a bit peculiar, really. You see, the front door opens into this big room that they use as a studio, and the first thing I saw was Rose prancing about and banging a tambourine.
What was she wearing?
Well, Michaelmas daisies, mainly.
Was she otherwise unclothed?
Yes. Well, I think so.
Who else was there?
Oh, the plumber, Mr. Colley. He was sitting on the goat.
And what was his attire?
Well, I think he had a bunch of grapes.
But in spite of this unusual costume, you recognized him.
Oh, yes, because he just fixed our central heating.
And what did you suppose was the explanation of this tableau?
Oh, well, I couldn't imagine at first, and then I saw that Mr. Emsworth was sketching away, so I knew it must be something artistic. Oh, and then when he saw me, he said, "Come on in, Heather, you're just in time."
In time for what?
Well, at first he pretended that he wanted me to join in, but I wasn't having any. And then he explained that he was working on a picture. The Triumph of Bacchus, it was to be called, and apparently the idea was that it should all be happening in the main street of Kettleworth, with shopkeepers peering out of their doorways and people peering through lace curtains, and, well, it was all it was unusual.
Did he say what he was going to do with this painting when he'd finished it?
Oh, yes, he said he was going to give it as a present to Rose.
And what happened then?
Well, I asked where the cat had had her kittens, and nobody seemed to know, so I had to look round, and of course she'd had them in the linen cupboard. And then when I came down, Rose said Mr. Emsworth wanted me to sign something.
Did she say what it was?
No, but I assumed it was something to do with Mr. Emsworth giving her the picture. She was very excited, and she had a piece of drawing paper in her hand with writing on it.
You're quite sure of that?
Oh, positive. She handed it to Mr. Emsworth, and he signed it, well, almost without looking.
Almost without looking?
Well, yes, because, you see, he was very busy with his sketches. I mean, he must have done about, I think, a dozen of them. And he was examining them and tearing up the ones he didn't like, and he was singing. And then he took the torn-up bits of paper and he tossed them in the air, and he danced. It was a sort of hornpipe, really.
Was this the way he usually carried on, Miss Wynne?
No, I don't think I'd ever seen him quite like that.
Did he appear to you to know what he was doing?
Well, I thought he'd gone quite potty.
No, Miss Wynne, do you think he was capable of understanding the contents of the document he signed?
Well, I shouldn't have thought so, no. As I said, he hardly looked at it. Rose just handed it to him, and he wrote his name, and then she handed it to me.
And what did you think you were signing?
Well, I didn't know what it was. Oh, and anyway, she had her hand over it, so I couldn't see.
You told the court that you were a qualified veterinary surgeon. Can I take it that you do not claim any expertise on human disorders?
No, the two things are quite separate.
And you're not qualified, are you, to give an opinion as to a person's mental health?
Well, anybody can have an opinion.
Yours was that Mr. Emsworth was potty.
The second time, yes.
But not on the first occasion, when he made out a will in favour of your friend, Miss Kingsley.
Oh, no, I'm sure he was quite all right then.
On that occasion, did you draw any conclusions from the fact that you were asked to be a witness?
Conclusions? I'm sorry.
Did you suppose, for example, that Mr. Emsworth intended to leave you anything?
Well, there was no reason why he should. And anyway, a witness has to be someone who's not going to get anything. Or so I've always understood.
Quite so, Miss Wynne. And the other witness was Rose Messiter. Now, what conclusions did you draw from that?
Well, I don't believe I thought about it.
Didn't it indicate to you that Rose Messiter was to get nothing?
Well, yes, I suppose so.
Do you have any idea who was going to inherit Mr. Emsworth's fortune?
Well, I assumed he'd leave Brenda something.
Well, there was no one else, was there?
He could have left it all to charity. He was quite unpredictable, you know.
You didn't discuss this with Brenda Kingsley?
I didn't think it was any of my business.
On the 1st of September, when you were again asked to witness Mr. Emsworth's will.
Oh, excuse me, I really didn't know it was a will.
What do you think it was? A codicil leaving something to Miss Messiter?
Well, yes, I suppose I thought something like that, yes.
Very well, a codicil, if that's what you thought it was. Now, you never said a word about that to Miss Kingsley when she returned from London.
No, I didn't.
Well, you knew Rose was excluded from the first will, and here she was getting something after all, and you didn't say a word about it to your good friend, Miss Kingsley.
No, I didn't. It would have been quite wrong of me.
You have a fairly strict sense of morality, Miss Wynne.
Well, one tries to preserve one's standards.
You must have been shocked when you arrived unexpectedly at the Emsworth cottage and found this bacchanalian scene in progress.
Well, I was rather, yes. Until it was explained to me.
Then you realised that it was all in the cause of art.
Oh, well, of course, that made it quite all right.
You realised that Mr. Emsworth wasn't so potty after all?
Well, you see, it wasn't so much the business with the goat. It was afterwards when he started dancing the hornpipe and making, well, suggestions.
Suggestions? To you, Miss Wynne? Or what did he say?
Oh, honestly, I'd rather not repeat them. They were rather
Oh,
coarse.
come, Miss Wynne. We're all adults. What did he say?
Well, he said he'd always admired my bust.
So he wanted to use you as a model.
Oh, no, I don't think that's what he had in mind.
And you took that as evidence of insanity?
Well, I didn't say he was insane. I said he didn't know what he was doing when he signed the will because Rose just pushed it in front of him.
Miss Wynne, did you see Rose write the will?
No, but I thought it was very odd that he signed it without looking at it.
Well, he wouldn't need to if he had just written it himself, would he?
No, I suppose not, no.
It's a perfectly reasonable explanation, is it not?
Yes. But I still don't think he wrote it.
And that is an assumption on your part, Miss Wynne. I shall direct the jury to ignore it.
Thank you, Miss Wynne.
Thank you, Miss Wynne. My lord, that concludes the evidence for the plaintiff.
You may stand down, Miss Wynne.
Oh, thank you.
Please, your lordship, members of the jury. The case for the defendant is a simple one. It rests on the fact that the will of September the 1st was properly executed. I shall be calling evidence to show that the deceased knew perfectly well what was in this document and that he fully comprehended what he was doing. Miss Rose Messiter, please.
What is your religion, please?
Church of England.
Take the book in your right hand and read what is on the card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Is your name Rose Gladys Messiter?
Yes.
You live at 3 Holly Close, Kettleworth?
Yes, that's my mother's place where I'm living now.
Before that, where did you live?
In Mr. Emsworth's cottage.
Were you employed by Mr. Emsworth?
Well, I used to do the cooking and I posed as well. He always said I was his favourite model.
Now, when did you first meet Martin Emsworth?
Well, in 1965. My dad's a farmer, you see, and I used to take the eggs round for him. Well, I delivered some to Mr. Emsworth, and he asked me if I'd like to pose. I said it depended what for, naturally. Well, it turned out he wanted to do me just the way I was. And it wasn't eggs in the basket, it was John the Baptist's head. It was Salome, you see. It's in the Metropolitan Museum.
And soon after that, you moved into the cottage.
That's right.
Did your parents raise any objections at that time?
Well, I was over 21.
Did anybody else raise objections?
She didn't like it much.
She?
Well, Brenda Kingsley.
Why was that? Did she model for Mr. Emsworth?
No, she wasn't his type. No, she looked after all the business side of things.
And what was Mr. Emsworth's attitude to money, would you say?
Oh, he used to chuck it about rather, unless Brenda stopped him. He always said it had no place in an artist's life.
Would you describe him as a generous man?
Well, in some ways, but very mean in others. Well, if someone went up to him in a pub and gave him a hard luck story, he'd give them everything he'd got, even if they were obviously conning him. And then there'd be no money to left, for food and everything. So we had to live on fish and chips, because he could get those on tick. And the other thing was that he hated spending money on materials, paint and canvas and turps and all that kind of thing. It was daft, really, seeing as that's how he made his living.
Well, how did he manage if he didn't buy materials?
Oh, well, he used to use anything that came to hand. And if he wasn't satisfied with a picture, he'd paint another one on top of it. Used to drive Brenda mad when he did that.
Why?
Well, she could have sold both of them, couldn't she?
During the years you spent with Mr. Emsworth, did you ever talk to him about a will?
You mean before the one he made to me?
Yes.
No?
Well, the first will was made on August the 12th.
That's right. But even though then I didn't know it was a will, I thought it was a mortgage or something. I don't understand all that. Anyway, he said he had something to sign, and would I witness his signature? Miss Wynne, the vet, did it too, but I didn't think it was anything important.
You realise now it was a will.
Yes, but I should have known at the time, really. Because after it happened, Brenda was so pleased with herself. And I did wonder why she was carrying on like that.
Carrying on like what, Miss Messiter?
Oh, bossing everyone around. Me, mostly. Regular lady of the manor. And she seemed to take a different attitude to Emsworth, too. Always making him get on with it, do a bit of painting or a bit of drawing or something, when he'd much rather have gone down to the Baker's Arms.
Did he, in fact, increase his production as a result of this?
No, he got thoroughly fed up. Wouldn't you, with her nagging at you all the time? Now, the best way to stop Emsworth doing anything was to tell him he'd got to.
Well, to your knowledge, did he complain about this nagging, as you call it?
Yes, I heard them have a flaming row.
Do you remember when that was?
Yeah, August the 27th. They were in the studio and I was in the kitchen, but I could hear every word. Brenda wanted him to sell some pictures, but he wasn't having any. There were always some he wouldn't sell. Sort of sentimental value, I suppose.
Was the household particularly short of money at that time?
Oh, no worse than usual.
Did Miss Kingsley say why she was anxious to sell his pictures?
She said he'd better sell them while he was still in fashion.
What do you think she meant by that?
I don't think she was just being nasty.
Did Mr. Emsworth or Miss Kingsley say anything to you about this quarrel?
Well, she didn't, but he said afterwards he'd be better off living with a tax inspector.
Did he elaborate on that?
Yes, he said every time he put on a splash of paint, he felt Brenda was looking over his shoulder, totting up the worth of it. He said if she carried on like that, he'd never paint another thing. And he said anyway, he wouldn't be surprised if she'd sold a couple without telling him and kept the money for herself.
What did you say to that?
I said I thought it would be a shame if he stopped working, now that he was so famous, and that he shouldn't let Brenda get at him. I said he should ignore her and get on with it. He looked at me and he said, Rose, you always were my inspiration. Wasn't that nice?
Yes. Let us come to September the 1st. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Brenda had gone to London to see about an exhibition, and that was a bit of a relief to both of us. Me and Emsworth, that is. He was all sort of in a good mood and was talking about a new picture he was going to paint. It was just like old times, really.
Did he mention the subject of this picture?
Well, at first it was just going to be me, dancing down the main street of Kettleworth in a sort of ancient Greek costume. And we talked about it at supper. And then there was a ring at the front doorbell, and it was Wally.
That would be Walter Colley.
Yes, he's the plumber. The sinker got blocked up again, you see. Well, when he came in, Emsworth sort of jumped up and down and said, "That's it, Bacchus."
Bacchus?
Well, yes, he thought Wally looked like him, apparently. So he rushed about fixing it all up with flowers and grapes and everything, and I had to go and fetch the goat.
Now, what sort of condition was Mr. Emsworth in?
Oh, he was very excited about the new picture.
Excited, yes, but did he seem abnormal in any way?
No, he always carried on like that when he got some new idea. It might have looked a bit funny to anyone who didn't know him, but it was the artistic temperament, you know.
And after you fetched the goat, what happened then?
Well, it took some minutes because it was asleep and didn't want to be woken up. And by the time I got back, Emsworth had decided that he wanted Wally sitting on the goat and me dancing along behind with a tambourine. Well, we tried that in various ways, and then he started sketching. He always liked to do a lot of sketches before he put anything on canvas. Well, there we were, keeping fairly still, except when Wally got the giggles, not being used to posing, you know. And then the door opened, and Miss Wynne, the vet, came in.
She must have been fairly surprised by what she saw.
Yes, I think she was, but she's a good sport, really. And Emsworth explained, of course, about the picture, that it was the triumph of Bacchus and so on. And then he put his arm round me and he said, "This is going to be Rose's picture." I thought he meant that I'd encourage him to start working again, but he said no. When it was finished, he was going to give it to me.
And this was said in Miss Wynne's presence?
Yes, but then she went off to look for the cat who was having kittens. Oh, and Wally said, could he go to the toilet, please? And then me and Emsworth were left alone. And I said, really, you shouldn't give me anything as valuable as that. And he looked at me ever so serious and he said, really, I should have more than one picture. He'd like to give me everything.
Everything?
Yes, that's what he said. And he had a new sheet of paper in his hand and a felt pen, and he started writing something down very quickly. When he showed it to me, I saw that it was, well, like a will.
Is this the paper that he was writing on? Exhibit number 2, my lord.
Yes, that's it. And I've never seen that before. He must have done it later.
When you finished writing, did the others come back?
Well, yes. I was reading what he'd written when Heather came back and said the cat had had 4 kittens in the linen cupboard. And then Wally came back too.
Did you say anything to them about the will?
No, of course not.
Was there, though, some conversation about witnessing Emsworth's signature?
Yes, he asked Heather and Wally if they'd do it.
Did they agree?
Yes. He signed, and then they signed underneath where he'd signed.
Do you know what happened to that document afterwards?
No, I've no idea. I think he just put it down with some papers and went on sketching.
You didn't see him do that drawing?
No, I didn't.
And before his death on the 13th of September, did he mention the will again?
No, he didn't. But I didn't think he would somehow. Because I'm sure as far as he was concerned, it was all over and done with. Like I said, he never liked talking about money.
Did you mention the will to him?
No, I didn't.
How did Mr. Emsworth die?
We had a heart attack.
After his death, you expected to inherit all his property under that will dated September the 1st.
Well, yes. But the day after the funeral, Brenda said something about I'd have to leave the cottage. And I said, why? And she told me that he'd made a will. So I said, when? So she said, the 12th of August. Well, I didn't see how that could be. And I said, well, he must have changed his mind then, because on the 1st of September, he'd left everything to me.
What did she reply to that?
She said, where is it then? And of course, I didn't know, did I? I looked everywhere I could think of, but I couldn't find it. And Brenda said, obviously, he must have torn it up.
Did you think he had?
No, not really. But he might have done if she'd been nagging him again.
When did you first learn that the will of September the 1st was still in existence?
Well, about a week later, I had a letter from the Tate Gallery saying it had turned up and that I ought to get my legal advisor to look into it.
And your legal advisor did?
No, I didn't have one, but I got one.
And is that the document that Mr. Emsworth wrote out and signed?
Yes, it is.
When he did so, would you say that he was in full possession of his mental faculties?
Of course he was. I know lots of people in the village thought he wasn't right in the head, but that wasn't right. It's just that they don't understand how artistic people carry on. I mean, it stands to reason. If he'd been mad, he wouldn't have made so much money.
Thank you.
The case of Kingsley versus Messiter will be resumed tomorrow in the Crown Court. This drawing of the Triumph of Bacchus by the late Martin Emsworth was sold to the Tate Gallery by his manager and companion Brenda Kingsley. When he died a few weeks later, a document was found on the back of it which seemed to be a will, leaving everything to his favourite model, Rose Messiter. In this civil action, Brenda is asking the court to set this will aside on the grounds that it was forged by Rose and that Emsworth was not capable of understanding its contents when he signed it. One of the main questions in the case is where the dividing line should be drawn between the admittedly eccentric behaviour of an artist like Emsworth and actual mental incapacity. Rose Messiter is still in the witness box, about to be cross-examined by Miss Helen Tate.
On August the 12th, Miss Messiter, when you were asked to witness Mr. Emsworth's signature, did you really have no idea what the document might be?
It could have been anything, couldn't it?
No, it couldn't. I put it to you that a document signed by Mr. Emsworth and countersigned by 2 witnesses could only have been Mr. Emsworth's will.
Well, I don't understand things like that.
Are you aware, though, that a person who is asked to witness the signing of a will cannot possibly be a beneficiary?
A penny what?
Oh, come, Miss Messiter, the word has been used on numerous occasions in this court. I suggest that when you were asked to be a witness, it was immediate indication to you that you were to inherit nothing.
I never even thought about it.
You're saying that here you are living with this world-famous man, many years your senior, whose work commanded enormous prices, and you never thought whether he'd provide for you when he died.
Why should he?
Because in addition to being his favourite model and his inspiration, as you've told the court, you were also his mistress, weren't you?
Well, yes, but only sometimes.
And what are we to understand by that?
Well, sometimes it was me and sometimes it was Brenda.
You mean there was some sort of roster system?
No, it just depended what kind of mood he was in. Sometimes it wasn't either of us. It was some other lady he'd taken a fancy to.
A regular harem, in fact.
Sounds more like a barnyard, Miss Tate. And since the deceased is not here to defend himself, perhaps you will confine yourself to what is relevant.
It must have been rather difficult to sustain this ménage à trois.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was forgetting how innocent you were. A ménage à trois is a phrase coined by the lascivious French to describe the situation when 2 ladies share the affections of 1 gentleman.
Oh.
Or any combination of 3, my lord.
I repeat the question. Was it not rather difficult to sustain?
For him or for us?
I was referring to yourself and Miss Brenda Kingsley. There must have been a good deal of jealousy between you.
I wouldn't say that.
But you didn't get on too well.
Well, we had a few disagreements, naturally. Like I said, she could be very bossy.
It must have annoyed you very much when you discovered that Emsworth was leaving all his property to her.
I didn't know that, did I?
Very well. Supposing you had found out, would you have considered it unfair?
Miss Tate?
Yes, I would.
You might even have considered how to set about reversing the situation.
Look, I didn't know, did I? I mean, Miss Kingsley didn't tell me, and Mr. Emsworth never said a word.
You're saying that he never told you about the first will, even when he made out the second?
Yes, he never said anything about it. Like I said, he didn't like talking about money.
But you said on August the 27th you had quite a frank discussion with him about his financial affairs. You said he accused Miss Kingsley of having cheated him.
Well, he was upset. He'd just been having a row with her.
Miss Kingsley says she doesn't remember that.
No, she wouldn't, because it doesn't suit her to.
But of course it suits you very well, doesn't it, Miss Messiter, to remember a row between Mr. Emsworth and Miss Kingsley. It lends credence to your story, that he changed his will, cutting her out and leaving everything to you.
You don't have to believe me if you don't want to. The will's there, isn't it?
You said that during that conversation, Mr. Emsworth complained that Brenda's nagging was preventing him from painting. Now, wasn't this lack of productivity rather due to the drinking and the losses of his powers of concentration?
No, it was because she was getting at him all the time. He hadn't been able to do any work for weeks.
But fortunately for posterity, you laid a soothing hand on his brow and inspired him to paint a masterpiece.
I didn't say that. He did.
But as he's no longer here, we have to take your word for it. Now, let's consider the somewhat bizarre events of September the 1st, when Miss Kingsley was away and you had Mr. Emsworth to yourself. Was he very drunk on this occasion?
Oh, he was never very drunk.
Intoxicated, though?
Well, it was hard to tell with Emsworth.
You mean his normal behaviour was so eccentric that it was impossible to tell whether he was drunk or not?
Well, he certainly wasn't any worse than usual.
It was quite normal, for example, for him to greet the plumber who'd come to mend the drain with a request to remove his clothes and play the part of Bacchus.
I know it sounds peculiar if you didn't know Emsworth.
But had he ever done anything like this before? Seize upon a tradesman, get him to strip and turn him into a model?
Not quite like that, no, but you never knew what he was going to do next.
All right. He was in his normal, playful mood, and he suddenly had this inspiration to depict the plumber as Bacchus and you, presumably, as a Bacchante. Now, you may not have been surprised by this, but were you surprised, however, when he announced that he was going to paint this particular picture for you?
Yes, I was rather.
Presumably you knew the value of the gift.
Well, I knew it would be worth a lot of money.
Had you any idea how much?
Oh, £5,000 at least.
Did you gather that he was going to give it to you straight away?
When it was finished, yes.
He didn't say you'd have to wait until he died?
No, he didn't. All he said was he wanted me to have it.
Then there would have been no reason for him to put that in writing, would there?
I beg your pardon?
Well, Miss Heather Wynne was under the impression that she was witnessing a codicil. giving this picture as a specific legacy to you.
Well, I don't know why she thought that. Nobody said it was what you said.
Well, it would have been necessary to make a codicil, wouldn't it, to cover a particular bequest?
But it wasn't a bequest. He was giving it to me as a present.
A gift inter vivos?
What?
From one living person to another.
Oh.
Now, to return to Mr. Emsworth's state of mind on the evening in question, you said, I think, that for some time past he'd not been doing any painting.
No, he seemed very depressed and couldn't get down to anything. I think it was because of Brenda watching him all the time. He knew that if he did paint anything, she'd take it away and sell it.
To buy food and pay the gas bill and so on.
Oh, Emsworth never looked on it like that. He said it was like having his children taken off to the slave market.
To put it mildly, he wasn't a very practical man.
No, he was like a baby, really.
And that's why Miss Kingsley had to look after him.
I did too.
And this rather childlike person who'd been in the depths of depression for several weeks was suddenly inspired by you to start work again.
Yes, he was like that. Something would start him off and he'd get all excited.
Excited in a childlike way?
Yes. That's why people thought he was a bit peculiar, really. He sort of lived in a world of his own. And when he was working, I mean, he never noticed the time and he didn't stop to eat. You could talk to him and he didn't even hear.
In a community like Kettleworth, that must have seemed very eccentric, almost mad, in fact.
Well, they may have thought he was mad, but they don't know anything about art. But he wasn't mad at all. It's just that when he was concentrated on a picture, he couldn't think of anything else.
He couldn't think of anything else?
No, nothing.
And you're saying, are you, Miss Messiter, that in the middle of this creative frenzy, when the normal events he would have been unable to think of anything but his picture, he suddenly broke off in order to compose a will?
Yes, that's what he did.
But he could have done that later at a more convenient time, when his inspiration was no longer at white heat.
Well, he could have done, but he didn't. He wanted to do it straight away.
In case all this creative excitement caused him to drop down dead, perhaps. Why was he in such a hurry, do you think?
Well, he may have wanted to do it before Brenda got back from London.
But if he did what you said he did, it really was a most extraordinary thing for him to do, wasn't it? I mean, there he was, sketching away, covering sheet after sheet of paper with sketches for something that was going to be his masterpiece, and then suddenly he changes gear, and he starts writing out a legal document. Oh, in the brief interval, while the plumber was in the lavatory and the lady vet was attending to the cat.
Well, all I can tell you is that that's what happened.
And he'd never even talked about a will before, you said?
No, he hadn't.
And this childlike man, this otherworldly man, suddenly took a blank piece of paper and started writing a legal document. You're really asking us to believe that?
Well, that's what he did anyway.
It would be somewhat more credible if you had written the will.
Why should I have done that?
You had a shrewd suspicion, didn't you, that he'd left everything to Brenda Kingsley and you were determined to put a stop to it?
I didn't know anything of the sort. He could have left it all to the old cat's home for all I knew.
Well, if you thought that, I'm surprised you remained on such good terms with Mr. Emsworth's cats. You don't like Miss Kingsley, do you?
She's all right. I don't have anything particular against her, if that's what you mean.
Then why did you come into this court and quite gratuitously reveal that she was Mr. Emsworth's mistress?
She was from time to time.
It's not a very nice thing for one woman to say about another, is it?
I'm supposed to be here to tell the truth, aren't I?
Miss Tate, it was the fact that you asked Miss Messiter about her sexual relations with Mr. Emsworth that invited the evidence that you're complaining about.
Quite so, my lord. I suggest that the truth is that you watched and waited until the opportunity arose for you to put before Mr. Emsworth for his signature a document you yourself had written.
No, I didn't. It's all lies. He wrote it. Mr. Emsworth wrote that will and you won't get me to say anything else, so you might as well shut up.
Miss Messiter, do you realize that it doesn't make the slightest difference?
What?
It makes no difference whether Mr. Emsworth actually wrote the will if the contents were dictated by him and he understood them.
Then what do you keep getting at me for?
I was giving you the opportunity, somewhat belatedly, to tell the truth. Now, it doesn't much matter if you wrote the will, but what does matter is if you've been lying to the court about it, because then we'll want to know why. You did write out that will, Miss Messiter, didn't you?
Yes.
I didn't quite catch what the defendant said.
She said she did write out the will, my lord.
Well, then why did she say she hadn't?
You've been lying, haven't you?
Yes.
You wrote it out and got him to sign it.
No, it wasn't like that. He dictated it. He told me what to put in it.
Then perhaps you'll now tell the court why you wrote it out in what has been described as a bad copy of Mr. Emsworth's writing.
I didn't. I I always write like that. You see, when I first went to the cottage, I couldn't read or write, and Mr. Emsworth taught me. So of course my writing looks like his. It's only natural, isn't it?
Walter Stanley Colley.
I am.
You live at 2 Railway Villas, Kettleworth.
That's right.
And what is your occupation?
I'm a sanitary engineer, sir.
Colloquially, you might be referred to as a plumber.
Yes, sir.
Now, do you remember paying a visit to the late Martin Emsworth's home on September the 1st?
I'm not likely to forget it, sir. I went round to fix a block drain, and the minute Mr. Emsworth seen me, he took one look and he said, Bacchus.
Bacchus, what do you think he meant by that?
Well, I didn't think anything, sir, but later on he explained that I resembled the legendary god of wine.
And what happened then?
Well, then he suggested that I should remove my clothing and stand quite still while he painted me.
Were you pleased or embarrassed by this suggestion?
Well, I thought it was a bit of a giggle, really, all in a day's work, you might say. Anyway, I quite fancied the idea of ending up hanging in a museum.
So you did as he requested?
Yes. I wasn't the only one. Rosie was there and the goat. It took a little while to get organised, and then the vet came in.
That would be Miss Wynne?
Yes, that's right. Then Mr. Emsworth, he turned round and he wanted us to sign something. Miss Wynne and I, that is.
Do you have any idea what that something was?
Well, I reckoned it must be a will, requiring 3 signatures and all.
Now, who prepared this document?
I didn't see who wrote it, but presumably Mr. Emsworth.
Were you present when the document was written?
No, my lord, I was in the toilet.
Well, then why do you presume that it was written by the deceased?
Well, it was his will.
That's pure supposition. I shall direct the jury to ignore it.
Yes, my lord. Now, before Mr. Emsworth signed this document, did he read it through?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Now, how did Mr. Emsworth strike you at the time? Did he seem to you to know what he was doing?
Oh, he knew what he was doing, all right, no doubt about that.
Thank you, Mr. Colley.
Mr. Colley, you referred to the defendant just now as Rosie. Is she a particular friend of yours?
Yeah, well, we've known each other since we was kids.
Did she ever speak to you about Mr. Emsworth's financial affairs?
She might have done now and again. Anyway, we all knew what he was like. He was a funny man about money, Mr. Emsworth.
In what way, Mr. Colley?
Well, you know, one day he'd be telling everyone he was broke and he couldn't pay his debts, and then the next day he'd be chucking it around like a maniac.
Like a maniac, you say? Now, you say that he read the document.
Yes,
Did
definitely.
he read it out loud?
No.
Then why are you so sure that he read it? Just because he looked at it?
Well, he held it in his hand and he looked at it as if he was reading it.
Did he say anything about it to you?
No.
Or to either of the 2 ladies?
No, he didn't.
As I understand it, you and Miss Wynne had left the studio.
Yes, that's right. I was in the toilet.
And when you came back, who was in the room?
All 3 of them.
What was Mr. Emsworth doing?
Doing something with his sketches.
And Miss Messiter, Rose, was looking at the document.
Yes, that's right.
And who asked you to witness Emsworth's signature?
Mr. Emsworth did.
He'd broken off from what he was doing, had he? And signed it without saying a word?
Yes, that's right.
And you're saying that you really believe that he read and understood it?
Well, he wouldn't have signed it. I mean, if he didn't understand it, would he?
Oh, I'm sure you wouldn't, Mr. Colley. Unless you were under very severe pressure at the time. Now, let us suppose, for instance, in your professional capacity, that you were attending a burst pipe. Let us suppose water is gushing in all directions from the ceiling, the floorboards, and at that precise moment, someone handed you a document for signature.
Well, that's ridiculous. They wouldn't, would they?
But it was something very like that happened to Mr. Emsworth, wasn't it? We've been told he was working in a white-hot frenzy, covering sheet after sheet of paper, tearing up the ones he doesn't like, trying to get into his imagination all the images that were around before him, and that he was singing. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I suppose it was like that.
Thank you, Mr. Colley.
Does your lordship have any questions?
No, Mr. Elliot. You may stand down, Mr. Colley.
Yeah. That concludes the case for the defendant, my lord.
Mr. Elliot?
If you please, my lord, members of the jury. My learned friend asked Miss Kingsley this question. Did you ever speak to him about making out a will? She replied, yes, often. But he always managed to put it off. On August the 12th, we had a real stand-up fight about it. I threatened to walk out. He started crying. He then sat down and calmly wrote out a will. Now, I put it to you that this scene, so coolly and clinically related to us by Miss Kingsley, was nothing less than emotional blackmail. Now, here was an older man, doubtless afraid of the thought of death, being asked to make out a will. Now, this request was made often, she tells us, but each time he had refused. Why? A will was a reminder. There existed in the act of making a will a finality to his life and, more important, to his work. Let us move next to the will made on September the 1st. Now, we cannot be sure that Miss Kingsley did not read the will written on the back of the sketch she sold to the Tate Gallery. But, ladies and gentlemen, were it not for a curator at the gallery, this would never have come to light. Remember, Rose Messiter did not initiate these proceedings. When ordered out of the cottage by the plaintiff, she searched for the will to prove her entitlement, but she couldn't find it. Now, if Rose Messiter had planned to cheat Emsworth of the estate, can you believe that after securing a new will, she would have been so careless as to let it out of her sight? Well, even a poorly educated person would know enough to secure the document in safety until such time as it was needed. Now, the will begins, I, Martin Emsworth, do hereby revoke all wills heretofore made by me, and do declare this to be my last will and testament, whereby I bequeath, etc., etc. And do you honestly believe that Rose Messiter is capable of composing such a phrase? Is it not obvious that Martin Emsworth dictated the will? Now, I put it to you that Rose Messiter is intellectually incapable of such a task. Her virtues are to be found in the fact that she, above all, sustained Martin Emsworth. Unlike others, she accepted him for what he was, made no demands on him, and most important, encouraged and inspired him to work. Now, between August the 12th and September the 1st, Martin Emsworth, who enjoyed shocking people, decided to change his will. Miss Kingsley was away selling one of his children, as he called his pictures. With irony and the knowledge that 2 witnesses were present in the house, he left Miss Kingsley exactly what he felt she deserved. Nothing. Members of the jury, I ask that you fulfill Martin Emsworth's final request and find for the defendant.
Miss Tate?
Members of the jury, I ask you to consider this. Martin Emsworth was a man of artistic temperament, possibly one of the greatest painters of his generation, but also someone who had an almost childlike attitude to the practicalities of life. And it was for this reason that Miss Kingsley acted as his business manager, an unenviable position, one would think, in such a household. Now, my learned friend implies that by her repeated request to Mr. Emsworth to make a will, she was using emotional blackmail. But is it not the duty of a business manager to ensure that her client's affairs are in order, especially in the case of an artist who is getting on in years? Now, regarding Miss Kingsley's sale of the drawing to the Tate Gallery, my learned friend implies that this was a way of concealing the will. But can you really believe that the business manager of an artist would not know that the drawing would be inspected, remounted and reframed before being eventually hung into the gallery? Had Miss Kingsley wished to dispose of the so-called will, as has been suggested, then surely she would have destroyed it completely. Would it be worth risking the entire estate for a mere £300? Now, the events of September the 1st have been described in vivid detail to us, a veritable bohemian orgy of creation going on. Is it credible that in these circumstances Mr. Emsworth should suddenly decide to make a will? This man, who despised money and took no interest in material things, is it remotely likely that in the midst of this frenzy he should compose this very formal last will and testament? Or is it more likely, members of the jury, that he merely signed what he believed to be a deed of gift, bequeathing this particular painting, The Triumph of Bacchus, to Miss Messiter? Now, you heard her say how she wrote it out after stating on oath throughout the trial that she didn't. Knowing his character as she did, she must have had no doubt that he would sign it without reading it. And there should be no doubt in your minds, members of the jury, that the only valid will signed by Martin Emsworth was the one drawn up on August the 12th. And I therefore ask you to find in favor of the plaintiff.
Members of the jury, you've now heard all the evidence in this case, and I must remind you that on all questions of fact you are the sole judges. And my task is to direct you as to the law. And I must tell you that the will signed by Mr. Emsworth on the 1st of September supersedes and invalidates all previous wills if the following conditions are fulfilled. Now, firstly, that Mr. Emsworth signed it in the presence of 2 witnesses. Now, that's not disputed. Mr. Colley and Miss Wynne have testified that they signed it according to the requirements of the law. And secondly, it must be proved that Mr. Emsworth understood the contents of the will and that he was fully capable at the time of so doing. Now, as Miss Tate pointed out, it makes no difference to the validity of the will if it was written out by somebody else, that's to say, by Miss Messiter. But in a case like this, the burden of proof is on the person setting up the document as a valid will. That is to say, Miss Messiter. So she must satisfy you that on the balance of probability, he knew what he was doing. Now, you've heard that from the 2nd of September until his death on the 13th of September, he was virtually incoherent. That's not challenged by Miss Messiter. You may think that's significant. But what you have to decide is whether his behavior on the 1st of September showed that he didn't know what was in the document he was signing, really didn't know what he was doing, or whether, as Miss Messiter says, he was compos mentis. Now, Miss Messiter has said that he dictated the will. Well, if that is so, it shows a considerable degree of mental awareness and concentration. Mr. Colley has said that he read through the will before he signed it and that he seemed to understand what he was doing, and Miss Wynne said that she thought he was potty. Well, there you are, members of the jury. It is for you to decide. We will now retire and consider your verdict.
All stand. All stand. Members of the jury, will your foreman please rise? Answer me this question, yes or no. Have you reached a verdict on which you are all agreed?
Yes.
Do you find for the plaintiff or for the defendant?
For the defendant.
Thank you.
Very well. I pronounce a decree for the force and validity of the will dated the 1st of September. I'm asking for costs, Mr. Redmond?
Yes, Lord.
Next week, a chance for you to join another jury in assessing the facts when our cameras return to watch a leading case in the Crown Court.